Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Tables with your host, Rob Bradley.
I think it's time for us to update that intro to include with your hosts, Rob Bradley, JC, and James Burrows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. We've got any listeners out there that would like to provide their voices. We'll give you just some maybe, I don't know, we'll just say your name.
A shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
We'll name
Give you a
an
shout out.
NPC in one of our games
Oh,
after you.
there you
One
go,
of the
lovely.
Rolldark Fest ones, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
nice.
true,
That's a
true.
good idea. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we'll do
Yeah,
that.
yep. Send your submissions in on a postcard to PO Box. What is it called?
I sent so many of those off as a child, and not once
Yeah,
did I
me
get to
too.
go on Jungle Run.
Aw. I
Do you know
remember
what?
sending my very first one when I was, I think, 6 years old. My parents helped me write it and send it to Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. I was obsessed
Oh,
as a
really?
kid. Yep. I had a little crush on them as a kid.
Oh man. What about their sister?
Well, I mean, yeah.
She's
Nowadays,
alright, isn't
I'm
she?
like, well, God, why did I waste my time? You know?
Yeah. What was she doing in the background?
She was probably
like
my age too. I think she was. I think
steps
she's
out
a
of the bedroom.
year or two younger than me. Actually, I'm not
Is
100%
she?
sure. I'm gonna go look it up. Yep.
Yeah, she's
Missed
she's
opportunities.
smoking. She is smoking.
I think they're all,
Yeah.
well, they're all definitely older than me.
Are they really?
I'm pretty
Oh.
sure. Yeah.
Oh. You're 30, aren't you, James?
Yes.
How's that?
Oh, did you just
How
hear
you-
that noise that I made?
How
like,
you get? Are
yeah.
you getting used to it? All right.
Yeah,
You wearing it well?
well, I'm wearing it as well as I can, but my knees have started to hurt, and my elbows,
Ooh.
and my back.
Wait. Give your 30s time. Don't let everything
right.
happen all at once. Come on.
Got to ease into those days, man. Got to ease into it.
I think being sort of tall and not really doing anything with my posture for the past 30 years has probably caused some back problems already.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I too have recently been realizing that I'm developing major posture and back problems, but it's because I play too much Baldur's Gate 3 crouched over my computer like a gremlin.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm just like,
Yes, Gale must eat another magic item.
and
Yeah, right. You gotta be so careful with that. I always like correcting my posture when I'm sat down and playing on the computer. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like this.
I have as soon
Exactly.
as I'm losing or I'm finding something difficult, you go into gamer position, which is slightly forward.
Yeah.
You naturally hunch against that like few inches closer to the screen, which obviously helps you see better.
Yeah.
There's
and
going to
play
be some
better.
really hunched over old men when we get older. You wait.
Yeah,
Be like,
this
wow,
is the
look at all
problem.
these hunchbacks knocking around everywhere, and
I
know.
thought they
It doesn't
cured
really help.
polio.
with no suntans. But no, actually, they'll all have great skin because they just never go outside, so the sun never has damaged them. So they look really young, old looking men that are like really young, but have like horrendous back problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then the second the sun hits us, like we instantly age to the appropriate. It's just like you turn all wrinkly. I was gonna say it doesn't really help that I'm actually sitting in a broken chair at the moment.
Oh, really?
So I have a very, very nice ergonomic office chair. It was a gift from a friend, but it was over in LA, and I finally just got it shipped over after months of not having access to it. And I tried putting it back together yesterday, and something was stuck, and I tried a little too hard with the wrench, and the gas casket blew a hole, and now I have to order a new part, and I still have to figure it out. And I'm like, God, stupid chair.
What
So,
a
yeah.
pain in the ass.
Oh, it's such a
Is
pain.
it a pain in the
Yep.
ass?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
pain in the ass. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Right on.
So, have you guys had a good week so far? Good weekends? No, we're on Wednesday, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good weekends. What you guys get up to?
Not a lot really. It was weekend before payday, so
Oh, yeah. Right.
I saw. I had a friend's 30th, but it was a house party on Saturday, so that was, that was
nice.
good. I'm no longer alone.
Good.
But then just hung out with Jade. Had a quiet weekend.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Yeah, for
Lovely.
me it was improv on Saturday. We did another couple of shows at Batsu, went pretty well, good audiences. Sunday had a little shindig with friends at a friend's place. Lots of charcuterie boards and wok and chips and all this good stuff. Yeah, it was a good time just to catch up from the crew that hung out together when we were in Edinburgh. So that was fun.
Nice.
A couple of them might be listening in. So, actually, we've already had Nicky Core as a guest. He was one of our friends there. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And then Monday through now has been a blur of D&D games and Baldur's Gate 3. So I don't know what day it is anymore. Time is a soup.
Baldur's Gate 3 has been taking up a lot of my time since I've been able to play that. I think I've sunk between 40 to 50 hours in.
Already? Oh wow! Already? You're farther than I am, and I've barely. Or I've been playing for longer than you have.
I'm in Act 2, and
I'm still in Act
1. Bloody brilliant.
I was going to say, I have no idea where I am. I've been playing for like 9 hours. I'm just like running around in that damn forest. I just can't.
Nice.
I can't kill that damn hag. Because I'm just like wandering around trying to get my XP up.
Your
level up to get her. I just can't get her. I'm like,
I came back so late for that. I completely missed that whole area of the map, and then got to the Underdark after completing most of Act 1, and then I found like a mushroom circle in the Underdark, and it teleported me to like right behind the hag. And I was like, oh, this must be like the only way you can access this. And then I came out the other side of the hag's hut, and I was like, oh no, you just walk up a hill and it's there, and it's
right there. The Selenite outpost.
It's so annoying because like in my saved games, I keep like in one of the games before I saved it, I managed to find that I can't remember what race she is. She's got green skin and she's trapped inside the cage at the top.
Oh, the Gith, yeah.
That's right, the Gith.
Lae'zel. Yeah, Gith right. Yankee, if you want to be.
I managed to free her, get it sent back to my camp, but then I got my ass handed to me by these dudes. So I then had to reload my save, and then I was like, "Where the hell is she?" And it's like, I had to go and find her.
No! Okay.
I couldn't find her. No, I couldn't find her anywhere. So I was like,
"Oh shoot! Oh, I wonder where she is or what happened. Maybe it's some kind of bug." Well, listen, I'll tell you.
Stupid.
Well, listen, if you lose Lae'zel, in my opinion, not the worst thing in the world. I mean, honestly, I'm a completionist, so I hate to see anything failed or miss. Even if it means the companion that constantly berates me for my choices, and it's like, why are we helping these people? Why are we wasting our time? And I'm like, all right, stop with the weird noises. Listen.
I think actually Astarion is the character that I don't take with me anywhere.
I don't take Astarion.
And I think if I did an evil playthrough, I'll take Astarion.
Yeah. I plan on.
Is that the vampire? The vampire.
Yeah, the vampire.
Oh god, he's so inappropriate. I'm like, get off! I'm like, leave me alone.
No, feed me, Robert, please.
I'm like, shut up. Why don't you go over there and feed yourself? Like,
that's a spot-on Astarion impression.
Take a hint. Take a hint. Yeah.
Anyway, if we aren't running games for Larian, we should be with JC doing voices like that.
Right. We should.
My party's Will, Gale, and Shadowheart, which isn't optimized in any way, but I like them. So they're kind of
no Karlak in that party, James.
I love Karlak. I do love Karlak, but
who's that? Who Karlak?
Depending on what
you'll meet her very, very shortly. If you're wondering,
you're
going to run into her.
No, you won't.
Is she like Shadowheart? Because Shadowheart at the moment is I would say kind of like getting the most out of my attention. In terms of the romance element, I'm like,
same.
hey.
I prefer Karlak. I found her much later, because like I think you with Lae'zel, I just didn't find her in the area that I was supposed to. So
to be fair, it took me.
I had to look up a guide to find her because I knew that I was because I kept seeing memes about Karlak, and I was like, well, okay. I found Will, and Will was hunting her, so I was like, okay,
I've got
to be something. And then I'm awful at games where it's just like there's no like guide on where to go, where it's just like find the whatever, and you're just left in a map that's huge to be like, find it.
And a lot of nooks and crannies too.
There's so many nooks and crannies.
Go thoroughly explore to find these things.
Yeah,
I do definitely like that element of it, especially because it's not open. Because it's not open world as such.
No.
It's but they have really done a really good job of making it feel like kind of is.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without railroading you in a way, it's actually like the perfect love letter to D&D. Like how we DM games and stuff. Like you go, okay, well, this is your world. You can go anywhere you like.
But
You know what I mean?
But
I need
yeah.
you to stay
But
roughly
in this
here.
area.
But I planned a warg encounter today, and we're gonna have a warg encounter. I don't care if you go northeast, west, or south. We're gonna do it.
Yeah,
They're
right.
They're following you. So wherever you go, they
Yeah.
will find you.
They will find you.
Yep, there is
You'll
definitely
rest at some point.
there's definitely an orc camp up one of those roads.
Yep.
Oh, it just so happens that it's up every single road that you decide to take.
That's right. Yeah.
How strange is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
The illusion,
of choice.
Exactly.
Boom, boom, boom.
Great minds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cool. So,
yeah.
so what kind of news have we got then for this week, James? from the
Well,
RGB3?
talking of Baldur's Gate 3,
RGB, yes,
very
RGB.
briefly, they are doing this Friday a live stream one shot with the voice actors who play the companions in Baldur's Gate, and also the characters that you can choose to play as if you want to. So you've got the voice actor for Karlak, Shadowheart, Will, Gale, Lizelle, and Astarion, which will be streamed Friday on Twitch. So I should probably do the voice actors' names because they are excellent. So that's Samantha Bart as Karlak. I've butchered that, so terrible. There's an accent over the E, and I always forget what that means.
Emphasize. That's where the
Beart then
goes. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Devora Wild as Lizelle. Tim Downey is Gale. Theo Solomon is Will. Jennifer English as Shadowheart. Neil Newborn as Astarion. And Amelia Tyler, who is the narrator, is going to be appearing in some capacity as well. So it's a pre-recorded, and the DM is Mark Humes, the High Rollers DM.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
he was on Critical Role.
Yes.
Ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that looks like it will be fun. So
honestly, you know what? I'm surprised they didn't choose Rolldark.
Yeah,
they
right.
had an opportunity there, but oh well.
Well, it's their loss, really. At the end of the day.
Yeah,
it's their loss.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
You can't have
come
everything.
Friday. I think they probably already recorded it. It's just releasing on Friday because I've seen already like a video teaser of them all around the table, and I'm like, ooh, this actually looks really good.
Cool.
That is correct. Yeah.
So they have recorded it. They're just basically streaming the recording.
Right.
They've edited together.
Right. Probably. That's what I'm assuming. I don't think that they got all the actors in a room together to sit down and introduce their characters and then cut the cameras and say, "All right, see you on Friday." So they probably pre-recorded.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, it does say it's pre-recorded. So yeah.
There you go. Right.
That is 100% the case. Other than that, we have official D&D news. Phandelver and Below: The Shattered Obelisk has released.
Yeah. I'm getting my copy today.
And is pretty. It looks pretty interesting. The bestiary is something that I've looked over already. Lots of extra mind flayer. I mean, it's the first thing I go to with these books. It's like, okay, what monsters are we looking at?
Yeah, you and I are cut from the same cloth. All the mind flayer teasing, and I was like, yep, this is my adventure. I want to run it. I'm willing and able. Everyone, come at me. Let's do this.
Yeah,
it looks like too much fun.
It's interesting though that the first 4 chapters are the standard Phandalin adventure with some monsters and other things like tweaked to lead into the next adventure. But it is mostly identical to like the original Phandelver.
Okay, that's interesting to note. Almost identical. Do we know what changed?
So I mean, from what I've seen, there are some monsters that are switched out to be slightly different version. I don't want to
more mind flayerish, perhaps.
Not maybe slightly mind controlled versions of the monsters than the mod. Yeah. So they have some extra abilities and stuff. But so there's 8 chapters, and the first 4 are up to the end Wave Echo Cave and stuff. And then from 5 to 8. So yeah. It takes the same standard level, so chapters 1 to 4 will take you levels 1 to 5, and then from there it takes you up to level 5 to 12.
5 to 12. Okay, so it is a standard D&D adventure.
Yeah, and also weirdly fits in with the Baldur's Gate 3 level 12 cap. So if your first introduction to D&D was Baldur's Gate, and you were like, "Let's do the starter adventure on the new one that they've released," you'll sort of I think, understand better the abilities and how everything works going into it. I think
Right
that
on.
actually is something that is probably deliberate, and I think is definitely a great move.
Very
Yeah,
likely.
totally. Really
I,
cool.
I think I think Baldur's Gate probably will be driving a lot of people to D&D, and especially
Yeah, he was open.
the system and how it's set out and everything.
Yep.
I think it is very conducive to learning the rule set.
Yeah, it's
so
like
when-
it's like a soft, it's like a really good soft entry into. Oh,
Yeah.
this is basic. Oh, I see. So that's a D20, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
this is the difficulty. This is what you have to roll in order to achieve success, and this is what you're rolling if you are unsuccessful.
These are the
That
situations.
whole element
Yeah.
Right.
is
Right.
brilliant because that's probably the most, I would say, from a player's perspective, the most sort of complicated thing to get your head around. If you've never seen a D20 before and you've never seen your character sheet, having that all explained to you in the game is brilliant. In terms of Rolldark's perspective, we've definitely seen an uptake in private game inquiries since the game's release. Yeah, we had a really, over the summer it was like tumbleweed because obviously people were wanting to go out
People
and
on
have fun.
holiday.
Touch grass?
Yeah,
What?
I know. Yeah, they want to be out in the sunshine. How dare they? They should be on a table rolling dice and putting on
Right.
silly voices.
Good God. Come on,
right.
people.
Exactly. But yeah, this is literally like it came at the moment where I was like, please God,
We
let it
need
just
it.
be the summer. Let it just be the summer. And then it's like, oh, Baldur's Gate 3. Everyone wants to
Nice.
play. So it's like,
Everyone's
sweet.
into it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great way to get them
God.
back in. But of course, I feel like my fear is then people coming into the hobby and expecting it to be exactly like Baldur's Gate 3 and thinking that, there's passive checks that they're running all the time or that I'm rolling for them all the time rather than asking them, or bonus action shoves. Although I don't mind that so much. I've started to sort of see the appeal of of like jumping and bonus action shoves and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is really working. I really need to tell my players to jump more. Like,
it's definitely actually has made me think. Like, I always try to include some verticality in encounters, but it has really hit home. Oh yeah, if things are on more than one level, that's going to be really cool. What the players can do, and if you give them, like, the game does a bonus for doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right.
Give them.
Yeah, I think Larian honestly did a great thing, and we have to remember. Yes, it's running a 5e system, but it's running an adaptation of 5e. It's not running true 5e as it is, right? Certain spells do different things, and certain abilities work differently. But
there's just
overall,
they couldn't get in there either.
Yeah, exactly. For instance, I noticed that there's no dodge ability. You know how you can do that in 5e, right? Like you just focus on enemies have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and you have advantage on dexterity saving throws. I feel like that was very easy to implement, and I guess they must have had a very good reason for not, or they just thought that there was too much advantage disadvantage already stacking. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I think maybe with rogues it got broken to the point where everything we just had disadvantage on them once they got to the point where they could take it as a bonus action. That's just all
I don't think they can, because it's dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action, not dodge. So yeah.
Do you think that what they're doing is actually slowly introducing the rules for 1 D&D or D&D?
I don't think they're doing 1 D&D stuff. Larian started developing this game far before 1 D&D was really announced. Sure, maybe they were talking to each other about it, but I think this is kind of like 5e's final hurrah. The truth is, though, I definitely see this as probably a guiding path for the VTT. That's what I've been thinking. At this point, WotC is kind of looking at this game being like, okay, we basically need to give this element, this version of it, without it feeling like a video game, with it feeling still more like a tabletop game, but we have to make it effectively this, because this is the kind of experience people are going to be looking for if they turn to digital.
Yeah. Can any of the druids in Baldur's Gate turn into owlbears?
Yes.
The big question.
Yes,
really?
I can. Yes.
Okay. So because obviously
at level
that
8
been...
or 9, I think. Halton can.
So going back to what you just said, then, JC, about Larian obviously developing this game, they would have made that decision maybe earlier than the D&D film had made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially.
So interesting that how did they both decide that could be a thing?
Well, in early editions, it was a thing.
Right.
Like
Oh right.
druids could. So I think I can't remember if it's second or 3.5 where druids could become owlbears. That was fine in the rules. So I think the movie maybe was drawing on that,
right?
Because technically it was in the rules once and it's cool. So yeah, let's do it.
I feel like so this isn't okay. My brief opinion about this. I think that there should be some sort of tag on creatures that allow you to turn into things that are not necessarily beasts, but might be something else. Like a subcategory of animals, because an owlbear counts as a monstrosity and not a beast, right? And this is where all this debate is stemming from.
Sure.
But it's so beast-like already that for instance, and this is the real reason why, it's not because of druids turning into them, but specifically because of animal handling checks. Their animal handling checks by the book are only meant to deal with beasts. So, for instance, when you are on a mount or when you are trying to interact with a hungry wolf or something like that, right? And the same with Speak with Beasts or Animal Friendship, these couple of spells that specifically only deal with the beast category. But how useful is that past level 2, 3? How many actual animals are people putting in their games rather than, bigger, better monsters? Unless you're playing Tomb of Annihilation where dinosaurs count as animals, right?
Yeah.
And you're encountering a lot of dinosaurs in that module. How much are you really getting out of your animal handling skill? What happens if you take proficiency, you use it for the first couple of levels because you're maybe wandering around Phandelver or the forest or whatever and fighting wolves and bears, and then after that, now you've met a wyvern, now you've met an owlbear, now you've met wyverns are dragons, not monstrosities, but now you've met a manticore or something like that, and they're still beast-like, but your animal handling skill is suddenly by the book no longer useful. So at least in my games, if it's beast-y enough, if it's beastie enough, I'm like, yeah, it's practically this. An owlbear is just two different animals combined.
Yeah.
So use your animal handling skill. You want to use Speak with Beasts? I'll allow it. That kind of
thing. I think I Speak with Beasts I'd allow on a wyvern. I know it's a dragon, not a monstrosity, but it's beastie enough. I think its intelligence is low enough.
Right.
That I would allow that to be a thing. That
it's not a sentient. It's not a true sentient, intelligent creature, but
it doesn't have a language. Yeah.
Right. That's my humble opinion. Because how much
sense.
usage are you getting out of that after early levels, right? So same with owlbears. Let the druids turn into it, in my opinion. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So the Phandelver module. Aside from all that, there's some new Mind Flayer creatures. Mind Flayer Prophets and Mind Flayer Clairvoyance. The Clairvoyant particularly is a bit beefy. It's a bit of a beefier Mind Flayer. It's got buffed up hit points and a load of extra abilities because they no longer are following an Elder Brain. They're following the Whispers from the Far Realm or some Far Realm entity. So that's
I can't tell you how similar this is to my campaign. Like the premise of it and the fact that there's Far Realm influences. I see the Clairvoyant. Oh, how awesome does that look? The Prophet uses that age-old image of the super buff Mind Flayer holding the other head of the Mind Flayer in his hand. That's a popular image.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The only thing I have noticed about the book, so this is spoilers for the new Phandelver thing. So if you are thinking of being a player in the game, this is a spoiler that I don't think will spoil day-to-day things in the module, but as an overview, the obelisk itself and how it's integrated. If you are expecting it to tie in to all the other obelisks that have appeared in the realm so far in the other modules, so that's Tomb of Annihilation, Icewind Dale, Out of the Abyss. And there's one
Descent into Avernus.
Yeah. Is there an obelisk?
No, I don't think so. It's it's the Mad Mage and
Mad Mage has it. Yeah.
And there's one more as well. But I think so. I think there's 5 in total with this one. It doesn't tie those together at all. Or really,
no kidding!
It doesn't explain what they are or what they do. It's just
wait, what? That's what I thought the whole point was.
No, it's not doing that. It gives you ideas, and in like a little separate chapter thing to make to like how you could do that. But there is nothing set in stone as far as I can see with my brief
No.
overview that will tie
No.
all those together, which I guess makes sense because this is seemingly expected to be the first adventure. So you would go level 1 to 12 doing this, and then
Right.
maybe. And then I think what they think you will do is take those level 12 characters and go, okay, let's now go do Tomb of Annihilation and see. And then, there's an obelisk
Okay.
there. The DM is then expected, which like is fine if
Once again
as a
we
DM,
got that.
yeah. Which as a DM, if that's sort of what you would like, you're like, okay, they've given me seeds, and I will sort of nurture these into something that combines them. Great, then I think this is perfect. But if you were expecting finally we're going to get some answers about
That's
these
how they
obelisks
marketed it. That's why I'm surprised. They were ones like, hey, you know those obelisks that have been turning up in all those adventures? Well, you're finally going to get an explanation for what they do. The Mind Flayer thing is secondary. Huh.
Yeah, that's a shame.
That's bizarre. Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to the DM's Guild release of whoever does that and puts them all together and makes the adventure go to level 15 and tells you what all these obelisks do, and you have to travel to each one and activate them and see what happens.
there is some more information on like who created them and stuff, but
not much of it.
Yeah, it's so vague.
Huh. That is unusual. I did not realize that. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. Yep. Hey ho.
Hey ho. It's still. I'm still very excited for the adventure overall. Because obviously there are elements and enemies in here that we really really like. But yeah, I guess that's what we're here for, guys. Add our own elements of creativity.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I think I could definitely do something with it. Like it's interesting, and I've never run Fandelver like the adventure straight out, so it
have
might
you
be
played
something
it before as a player?
Yeah, I have played in it a little bit, yeah, but not a great deal, not all the way through. So
I've run it. I've played in it once. I've run it, I think, thrice at this point, with wildly different results each time. For a very popular standard sort of adventure that's been around for, what is it now, 8-9 years that we've had 5e.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that it changes, or it has the potential to change that much. But that actually means it's a hallmark of a good adventure, right? The fact that it can go
I think that
in a few different ways.
Replayability is definitely something that you'd look for. And there is the Dragon of Ice Spire Peak as well can be
that's the other
slotted into it. So if you get that and this, you could do those together.
That's good.
And then
good for beginners.
I wonder if that's why they chose for that adventure to not be in the starter set anymore, and they gave us Dragons of Stormwreck Isle because it was too much Phandalin.
Yeah,
and they wanted to diversify a little bit. Well,
yeah,
sounds likely.
I think that's likely. Yeah.
Cool. Right.
Very
cool. Any more news, James?
No, I don't have anything new. There's no cool indie RPGs that I can see have been like released. And I don't think there's any more updates about the guys who stole all those Magic the Gathering cards, sadly.
Oh, damn.
I know.
Damn. That's a shame. I was hoping to hear like their court cases like developed or something, but I guess it takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose it would.
All right, cool. So, we've got some updates from the community, haven't we, JC? We've got a couple of games that have given us some updates. So,
indeed we do.
Over to you, my friend.
All right. So, starting off with Alex Maud's game, which we've talked about previously. This is his weekly Ravnica campaign. In Ravnica, a precog mage Vortex warped a party member through an open door, which apparently is particularly delicious irony as it's one of the Sorlock's signature spells. In case you've never heard that term before, a Sorlock is a sorcerer warlock multiclass. Cool. They managed to handcuff this precog mage, only for the Sorlock to vortex warp her back to the Artificer. Oh, I'm sorry. They managed to handcuff the Sorlock, only for that Sorlock to vortex warp herself back to the Artificer, who was able to lockpick, a la sonic screwdriver, the handcuffs off. They also did their trick of casting darkness, as two of the party also have Devil's Sight, and were particularly pleased with its effectiveness. not knowing that Alex had a Felidar prepared nearby, which is a leonine creature with true sight. In other words, the ability to see through that darkness. For various reasons, the rest of their foes either died or retreated, leaving just this Felidar. They sensed its celestial nature and its intelligence, and the Sorlock and the cleric attempted to speak to it / reason with it, and the Sorlock said to it, "You'll die if you stay here." The Felidar sent back a mental image, to detect thoughts, of it standing resolutely in front of a large set of scales, seeming to say, "I serve justice."
Nice.
The cleric also appealed to it, saying she knew what it was like to be separated from her home plane and her goddess. She was a former consort of a goddess who was turned mortal. Apparently a long story. But the Felidar was moved by them. But it didn't move from its path. It then received a message from its bondmate, the precog mage. It sent the Sorlock an image of running away from a burning building before retreating further into the courthouse. And Alex ended that session by describing how the party smelled the very distinct scent of smoke. So a bit of a cliffhanger for that party right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a lot of cool, very specific Ravnica stuff. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people actually go on and on about Ravnica. Apparently it's a great setting.
Yeah, it's
you use
Magic
it a
the
lot
Gathering
in,
one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You use it a lot in Magic the Gathering. I've got at the moment I'm playing Magic the Gathering Arena in my free times because Charlotte's gone up to Durham, so pretty much every night I've been playing it. When I've been playing Baldur's Gate and getting really frustrated with that, I've been going on to Magic the Gathering just so I could really make myself totally frustrated in the point of just like. The annoying thing about the ranking system in Magic the Gathering on Arena is that the higher up you go, the more that the players that you play against you will just, if they think you've got the upper hand in any situation, they'll just quit. They'll just concede the game straight away. So you're just like, great. So you're literally like in and out of games all the time,
and you never actually win a match because they don't want to give you the satisfaction.
No, they don't want to give you the satisfaction.
They should do what WoW did when you were leaving dungeons. They should put you on like a penalty, or start like detracting from your overall arena score. Or I remember in World of Warcraft they timed you out. Like if you left a dungeon, you couldn't rejoin one for I think it was an hour or something like that, because people would constantly pop into a pug and be like, nope, don't want this, and pop out and pop in and pop out, and it was impossible to get a group going. So Blizzard had to remedy it. But that sucks, dude. I'm sorry.
It really sucks. And then like all the guys that are like really good with their cards, they've got like amazing decks, just literally just wipe the floor with you. So I'm just like stuck in this really weird place of being like in the Platinum League, but just not able to win any games.
Yeah,
right. I'm here. I've arrived. But it's like people just quitting.
They either quit or they destroy you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like oh, it's such a fucking pain in the ass. Anyway,
I got it.
Enough about me and my.
I like that segue though, because the next tale from the table is actually from the Keepers of Chaos game, and that sounds pretty chaotic in your world, Rob. So yeah, that's our transition, folks.
Nice.
From Jack Price's weekly online Keepers of Chaos game, in his own words. So, the Keepers of Chaos are back in action, and their bravery was being celebrated with a Chaos Olympiad, essentially a big Olympic Games with magical and chaotic events. Heroes from around the Sword Coast came to prove that they are stronger than our heroes, whose legend has been rapidly growing. Long story short, the games were going swimmingly until our Tabaxi wizard used his own body to block up a pipe that was spewing magic fire. Nice. He did this by casting Resilient Sphere on himself, smart, and then activating an immovable rod. In a true irresistible force meets immovable object moment, the fire had nowhere to go, and the pressure rapidly built up in the underground pipeline, supplying the flame. Eventually, the pressure was too great, and the underground pipes exploded, ripping a huge flaming fissure in the ground and causing the arena to start collapsing. Cue absolute carnage. So, of course, I choose this moment for their bone mage enemy to arrive, and the ensuing fight was beautifully chaotic. Amazing.
Great. That is great.
Keepers of Chaos, indeed.
Yeah, right. The immovable object rod, the immovable rod thing, was the first ever magic item I ever got in D&D, I remember just thinking to myself, what the hell is this? How am I gonna do with a rod? That's like I just couldn't get my head around it. But now, like since then, you hear these little
Oh,
snippets of people just using it in such an amazing way, so
Mm.
yeah.
creative.
Have
You're
I
like,
talked about
wow,
my immovable rod player story?
no,
I had. Oh my gosh, I
I think
have.
I've got one as well. I'll go after you.
Yeah. So it's. I think this is the perfect example of the magic item that you can underestimate, but has like infinite potential uses if you can get creative enough, right? There was in our old Rolldark Curse of Strahd campaign, there was, or Shadows of Barovia as it was called. We had a fighter played by Keith. Keith, if you're listening, shout out to you. Who ended up with this immovable rod way early. I put it in, I think, at like level 3 or something like that, and that's when they picked it up in an area and had it ever since. And my God, the logic-defying stuff that he did with this was insane. And at one point, Galeris, his fighter, was falling from a huge cliff, like the side of a mountain, actually. And I remember because it was a Vrok, they were fighting Vroks, and the Vroks came and grabbed them, basically these vulture demons, snatched her up and started to fly off with her. And the Vrok was shot down, I think, by the party warlock, and Galeris started to fall. And I said, okay, you instantly descend up to 500 feet. And unless you have another way of stopping yourself, you're going to descend another 500 relatively soon. It's about 1,000 feet to the ground. And sure enough, she pulled out that immovable rod, pressed the button in midair, and just hung from it and waited for rescue from there. But we've had all other kinds of things. We used it as they used it as like an anchor for a rope so that they could Tarzan swing across gaps. They've used it to block entrances. They've used it for everything. It's so clever.
That
Yeah,
was
it's brilliant.
that was what my party did. My I think it was warlock just jumped over a gap, knowing full well they weren't going to make it the whole way, but triggered it like at the apex, and then had to try and swing across, while the rest of the party then attached the rope to it to swing over. That was great.
Brilliant.
I think they'd already almost lost one to like this huge cavern that they were like this obelisk pillars. Obsidian pillars were sort of dotted around it, and it was pitch black. Not many of them had dark vision at that time. I think the warlock was the only one who did. So
nice. You got a obelisks on the mind there, James?
Yeah, for some reason. Apparently,
yeah, right.
When you said though, I just can't help myself. When you said there about them jumping up the cliff and it being 1,000
right.
feet, do you in your games go by the rules as written for full damage, where it hits a peak and it doesn't go above that many?
I do. I want my
stick to
players
that
to survive things. 20d6 is the max that you can take. Yeah. Do you not, James?
I ignore that.
Oh,
I acknowledge that they've made a ruling, but I think it's a stupid ruling, so I ignore it.
All right, Nick Fury.
Yeah, right.
That's brilliant. I don't know what it was like in older editions. I don't remember the falling rules for 3.5. I was too young. I was just
I think there's some stuff where if you fall off it, it would kill you, or at the very least, the damage should be high enough that it would knock you unconscious. I think it's insane that the same damage you'd get from falling off. So 20d6 damage is a maximum, and it's 10 feet. So that's 200 feet. I mean, that's already huge.
That's already lethal, right?
Yeah,
for a normal human. But then you get your raging half-orc barbarian who gets angry as he falls and somehow resists half the damage, and then it's just a tickle on their infinite pool of HP, and they're like, "Oh, I'm fine. Let's go."
Yeah, right.
Oh, I just do it how it would be calculated. So if they're 1,000 feet up in the air, that's 100d6.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. Whoops.
And also as well,
tabletop is that it can do that.
If you want to look at it from a very scientific standpoint, you could go at it whereby the actual planet of where they actually are in terms of their fantasy and the gravity that is produced by that planet, which will determine the density of their bodies. you could then really like go,
Yep.
okay, well,
You gotta.
actually,
We
well,
we got a
actually,
Starfield player over here. Uh-oh. Yeah.
Not yet. I keep looking at Starfield, going, "Ugh, if I get that game,
You'll
the only
never leave.
yeah, but the only thing
You'll
about it, the
never
only
see
thing
the
about it
outside
though,
world.
I like space games where you have open space games like Elite Dangerous, where you could literally just fly to a planet. You actually like there's no animation. You fly down to the planet, land, and go walking around, get back onto on the spaceship and fly off. Whereas in Starfield, it's all animated, and it's very much it's a space game rather than a space simulator.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Like
sure.
No Man's Sky in VR would be mind blowing to you, I imagine, because I've got that and it's crazy good.
Yeah.
Is it?
Did they finally
So
fix that game? Because I had heard that it was
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah, they fixed it.
massively glitchy at the
They've
start.
sorted
Okay.
it out now. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
added
It's a
so
shame
much
that
stuff
like
in.
unfortunately that's kind of the public zeitgeist, like imagine like your game wasn't quite up to snuff, but you worked on it real hard to make it good, and now it's available for the public, but everybody just kind of remembers it as that glitchy game that we couldn't play off of launch.
It's a real shame. The same with Sims. The same with SimCity. When SimCity first came out, the brand new one that's been out for like a few years, they forced everyone to be online. You had to have an internet connection, even though you were playing single player.
Right.
You had to have it. Yeah.
Weird.
So EA again, just classic EA server issues. And yeah, they lost loads of players, and then literally within about 2 months.
How are they going to market to you, Rob, if you're not online? How can they send you their ads when you boot up the game? Come on.
Exactly, cheeky fuckers. But but when that game had come out 3 months later, City Skylines had come out, and that had literally just gone. Thank you. I'll just take all of these people, and now suddenly City Skylines is huge, massive.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically a Sims. Is it a Sim?
Yeah,
Sim?
it's basically SimCity. City Skylines is
SimCity Sim.
exactly like SimCity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly like it.
I see adverts for City
really
Skylines
good
all the time now.
It's really good, really good. If you like that kind of thing, if you're into like management and the nitty, because you can really go really deep into it. Like the attention to detail is fantastic. The new one's coming out end of October.
Oh, nice.
I think won't work on my Steam Deck though, which is a bit of a shame. So I'd have to play it here in my office, which is
at work.
which is funny because like every time I ever decide to play a game here in this office, one of the reception team knocks on my freaking door, and I'm there like trying to land a 747.
Like, oh gosh!
Like,
I do work here. I swear.
I get a little tap on my shoulder. I'm like, hi. Is it an Amazon delivery? Is it? Oh, no problem. I was just busy working.
Yeah, this is for a client. I swear, we're checking out new event spaces from the sky.
The annoying thing is that Charlotte came to the office once, and they told her that that's what I do. They were like, he just plays computer games up there. He never does any work.
No.
Like,
oh no.
Fuck off. I'm paying to freaking be here. I can do what I want. So I might start locking my door and just like turning on my head.
You gotta start doing that. That's brilliant. Can I tell you guys a quick bad playing at work story that I have? I can one up you on this, Rob, because at least you're in an office environment. I played video games in a church while I was working in that church. So this is a job I had when I was, I think, 16. It was one of the first the first employments I ever had. And I worked for my local parish. And I was mostly just like a maintenance worker, kind of a glorified janitor. I would help with setups and strikeouts and clean and do other things. But on Saturdays, there was always a lull because we would, I would help out with setting up things for the masses in the morning, and then in the afternoons they ran events. But between the hours of like 12 to 3, there was a long lull, and I usually had nothing to do, especially during that hour-long lunch break. So one day, I snuck in my Nintendo GameCube and I set it up in like one of the little event spaces, but one with a pair of closed doors. But obviously I didn't want to be, found out that I was playing video games in a church. Don't worry, it was Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. It was a very good,
great game.
Normal, a fantastic game.
GameCube's so underrated. That was a great
Oh
game.
gosh. I grew up on the GameCube.
should have been playing.
No. It wasn't like GTA. I wasn't murdering people. You know,
I was going
it
to
was,
say,
it was Zelda.
just suit Larry if you remember that game.
Oh, Christ,
and I had a system. I remember because I was playing on one of those rolling TVs that they used to have on those stands that they'd roll into your classroom and they'd plug it in and be like, all right, everyone, we're going to watch a documentary today. So they had that in that room to sort of show, I don't know what for their certain events, like, you know, religious videos and whatnot. So I had that all set up and I had my GameCube plugged in and I had my black spring jacket thrown over the GameCube to cover it so that it kind of blended in with the other black of the stand and the TV and the cables and whatnot so it wouldn't look suspicious. Nice. And I remember those two double doors having a window. So you could see through the doors out into like the main atrium of the basement of this church. So I took construction paper and I cut some and I covered the windows with it. And I started making a habit of this on Saturdays during that lull, right? Because, you know, in theory, yes, I could have been doing maybe some other work, but it wasn't too necessary. And one day, and I always had like, you know, my ear out to see if someone was coming. And one day, I heard my boss coming, but he was coming fast, and he was kind of the grounds manager of the parish. So, but I had my system ready and down pat. I, you know, snuck the controller under it. The TV was off. The remote was already hidden in my pocket. Like everything was in an instant already put away and no evidence. And I had a couple of chairs in that room as if I was folding them and getting ready to move them out. So I would look like I was doing something in there. And so he barges in, looks around and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just putting away these chairs." 5 seconds earlier, I'd been playing Twilight Princess. And he said, "Oh, okay." And then he turned around and looked at the construction paper on the windows of the doors and he says, "Who keeps doing this? I keep telling them not to do this." And he's
So, I don't know, man. It was it was like that when I got it.
yeah. That's pretty much what I said. And listen, Mike, if you're listening to this podcast, which I know you're not, my apologies, but it was a great time and it goes for a great story.
Yeah, brilliant.
I've never had an opportunity to play games at work, and I'm really good with myself when I work from home. I don't like even if I like take a little break for food or whatever. I don't play games because I know if I start, I will not stop, and that's my afternoon gone.
That's the problem.
That's the real problem, right?
It'll get to like 4 or 5, and I'd be like, "Well, I haven't done any work, and I should do my hours, but." It's 5 now. That's outside of work time. No one's going to expect me to be working now.
Yeah.
During lockdown, we when I was working in the city and we were put on furlough. Well, actually, no, this was before we got put on furlough because my company didn't want to put anybody on furlough. But we had literally nothing to do because all of the companies that we worked with had been put on furlough. But from the very top, they were like, "No, no one's gone on furlough." For like about, I'd say probably about 2 or 3 months, and because obviously like next week, it'll be fine next week COVID's going to disappear, so you know they just basically kept it like that going and going. So we literally had no work to do, and my boss was like one day, because we were a team of guys as well, and he was like, "Right, which of you, any of you guys got Xboxes or anything?" It's like, yeah, we got Xboxes. He's like, okay, cool. Any of you guys got GTA 5? I was like, I've got GTA 5, and a couple of us all had GTA 5. He's like, let's move this meeting into GTA 5.
I love that.
So he just started running around playing GTA 5, and then like everyone, like I think my boss like bought us all like those like hover bikes. So we were all like flying around in GTA 5 online in these hover bikes.
See,
like,
that's the kind of boss I aspire to be.
Oh, it was so cool.
All right, everybody, let's run this meeting from inside BG3.
Yeah, we all hop in.
Yeah,
we can have all 4 of us. We'll problem solve.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Is it cross-platform yet? It's not, is it?
No,
not just yet. Oh, James is disappointed.
I'm so disappointed. I have a couple of people that I want to play with, but they're all on PC. So I'm doing a couch co-op.
We're the couple of people. We're the only people.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Some of my players, I want to jump in a game with them. So my Curse of Strahd group, they Luke especially and John are both
nice.
Playing
Shout out to Luke and John.
Shout out.
Yeah.
I do love their emails.
How is your Curse of Strahd game going? Back to D&D.
It's interesting. So I have been having Strahd come to them one by one. and charming them to do horrific things.
James, you bad man. What?
To each
Like
other
what?
and NPCs. So there's the children from Kresk?
Kresk. Yeah, the orphans.
The werewolves have kidnapped.
Yes.
So
I guess they're
Strahd
not orphans.
may
Their
have
parents are looking
influenced
for them. But yeah,
Strahd may have influenced one of the party members, and when they got there, maybe one less child than was supposed to come back with them came back with them, despite the efforts of the party. And now, in character, all the players well, this druid is a loose cannon and cannot be trusted. So now they're very wary of him. So I'm sowing mistrust. And what else has happened? They found the sword, which I had put up in the abbey.
Nice.
And immediately,
all places. That's a good place for it.
I think the person who found the sword was the one who had injured / bumped off the child a couple of sessions ago, and so I had Strahd influence another player to say that if he got his hands on the sword, you need to act as though that absolutely cannot be allowed to happen, and you are going to attack him. So that happened. So there was a big punch up. Luckily, they managed to restrain the player before anyone was killed.
Nice.
So bit by bit, I'm just, because they're already all friends, I can wear away at the bonds between the characters.
Right. That. You know what I was going to say? I feel like that's the difference, is that they're friends and they can do that. Yeah.
These were all new characters, all new players who didn't know each other. It's probably not something you can get away with easily, where you can sow loads of mistrust because they don't know each other well enough to be like, well, that's not something that I think they'd do. Whereas they know their friends, they've played with the characters long enough to know how they play their characters, and so, that is a little bit out of character. That's a little bit out of character to my friend, so I will play around with it a bit better.
Have you played Curse of Strahd yet, Rob?
Do you know what? I haven't. We tried it many years ago. I think it was like the first published title that my brother tried to DM when we first got into D&D. This is like when we were in our mid-30s, so a good 5 or 6 years ago. And I think the problem that he had with it at the time was he couldn't quite understand why it didn't have like a linear pathway through that he could follow. Because he wanted it to be basically like a railroady type thing, and we ended up. It absolutely can be, yeah, absolutely. But I think it's around the time we were just getting our heads around the rules, so I think it just overwhelmed him a little bit. But I would love to play it.
It's so good.
It sounds fantastic.
I feel like you'd make a great Strahd too. Just like the personality, the voice, and everything.
Evil.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You're talented at portraying a multitude of and a wide range of emotion and motivations and stuff.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean.
I'm never not playing Curse of Strahd. I realized that. Like, I actually realized in all the time that I've been DMing, I've never not been playing Curse of Strahd. It was the first module I started DMing, and at some point, I'm always running a TM or a Strahd campaign. Right now, I have one another home game, but they were all people from different walks of life. They didn't know each other, even though we're all, I'm friends with all. And they are the most corrupt and evil group ever. I told the story last week about how they attacked the nobles in their mansion and everything, right?
Everything got set on fire.
Yeah. That actually has caused a couple of them to actually walk away from the campaign. They couldn't do it. They were like, "This is so not for us." And I'm like, so the good ones are walking out and the bad ones are staying.
So it's an evil campaign now. Okay.
It's effective. Well, not quite. You know what it is? They're a little more murder hobo-y than pure evil. But the potential is there. And they're only in Vallaki. Like, there's still so much to happen,
Yeah.
And the best part is now they're down, they're a tank and 2 healers. So
what do all the players know each other?
So yes, yeah. Well, no, sorry. They all know me. but they don't know each other. So that was the thing. I kind of like brought a whole group of people who had been saying they wanted to do it together, but they didn't know each other, and they just weren't meshing very well in terms of gameplay. They liked each other as people. It was just literally they were all looking for different experiences out of a game. And I think that's important to remember. You know, we work very hard as pro DMs to create a safe space for everybody, but you have to also kind of take that with a grain of salt, knowing that everybody is looking for something different, and sometimes it gels very, very well. I can be lucky and say it's more often than not gelled very well, and sometimes you have to just understand that won't happen. It's not always a perfect situation or a perfect world, so you have to let it go and say, yeah, we'll find other people, we'll get other people in. It happens, and then schedules change and things like that also happen. So
definitely, I think as people become more like, you know, accepting of the fact that you are paying effectively to be in a game with strangers, you have to have certain allowances, don't you? I think people they'll become more acceptable to that, because they'll be like, okay, I'm in this game with these people who I don't know. I can't be an arsehole and want it my way because it's a group dynamic that I have to be a part of, or I'm not going to be. If I want it to be something that it's not, then I shouldn't be included in the game.
Really? That's a fair point.
Yeah.
It happens.
It
And
does,
that's life. And you know what? It led to a rather beautiful moment where they were kind of, they did the walking to the sunset sort of thing, and I was able to sort of tease that their characters would still be obviously in Barovia, in this world, doing things on the sidelines that would definitely affect what the players will experience later on. And then the third one, actually not the third player, but one of our players then used that moment and changed their character, because that was the one that had gone like a little too evil, and they were like, okay, obviously this is a villain track. So they walked in the opposite direction, and I described them, taking the eastern road with Ravenloft visible silhouetted in the moonlight. They're headed to Strahd, and probably will end up joining Strahd. That kind of thing. And is going to be a villain at some
will you
point.
Bring them back in?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, that player is still in the game, so I mean, if I can weave the scenario so that their actual PC isn't available, and then suddenly the party has to fight this NPC villain that he gets to control, let's do it. Cool. But yeah, he was basically turning into a dark paladin, like an Oathbreaker. So.
Nice. And there's one final tale from the table there, JC.
Yeah. So I feel like that's all we've been doing. But hey, this is the name of the podcast, so Tales from the Tables. I have to share what happened to me over the weekend with my monthly Waterdeep Dragon Heist Rolldark game. Cool. This is the party that adopted the Intellect Devourer, FYI.
Oh yeah.
Before it was cool, before Larian did it, I just want to say they were the first ones.
Trailblazers.
So, yeah, Trailblazers, true. They haven't played in a month, and every month I'm like, okay, this is going to be an easier session, probably not as ridiculous as last one. No, this was actually more ridiculous. So where they had left off, they were in the mansion or the villa of a corrupt noble in Waterdeep. They were looking for a particular artifact. They actually don't really know the significance of the artifact. For those of you that are playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist or ever want to play it, I won't spoil it too much, but the artifact is called the Stone of Galore. They don't know what this stone does, but they know they need it, and it possibly will lead them to the villains that they're looking for, and possibly the treasure hoard at the end of it all. So they realize that this noble in his villa had it in the possession of something called a nimble right. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's a construct, kind of like a mechanical man in a way, can't speak, but is very, very fast and can fight, and typically has like a rapier arm attachment and stuff like that. So it was on the hands of this nimble right, and through a series of tough encounter and checks and whatnot, they finally managed to chase it down, and their NPC companion hits it with a natural 20 and does way more damage than it had left in hit points. So I described it as sort of suddenly falling apart, with gears flying and pieces falling off, and the leg and the arm and the head all kind of separate from the torso, and it collapses on the rooftops, and they're left to pick it up and take it back to their home base, which is a tavern. And as they get to the tavern, they realize, yes, we found the artifact, but we also have questions for the nimble right. And this is where it started to get ridiculous, you guys. They had this So I described it kind of like, you remember C-3PO in Empire Strikes Back when Chewbacca like nets him on his back because he's in various different pieces. I was like, okay, so that's kind of what the Nimblewright looks like. And they don't really have a tinker with them, but they had a wizard who was sort of proficient with Tinker's tools and had enough intelligence. I'm like, sure, go ahead and roll an investigation check to try and see if you can figure out how to put him back together. And he rolled a 14. I was like, you get him functional enough. You can attach the head back to the torso and get him functional enough. And then they were like, yeah. Don't put the legs and arms on him because otherwise he'll run away. Right. So they leave this construct. He kind of like presses the on switch, and he's got this Nimblewright who is now just a torso and a head. And they prop it up in a chair in this inn and sit on the other side of him. And one of them says, all right, tell us everything you know about the stone and your master. And I describe the Nimblewright as sitting there going, doing nothing but looking around. And then one of them says, oh yeah, forgot he can't talk. They're like, all right, yes or no questions only. All right, do you know who the master is? Right, they give the name of the villain, and the Nimblewright doesn't answer them because it is intelligent enough to recognize them as its destroyer. They're like, oh yeah, we forgot, it doesn't like us. All right, new plan, everybody hide throughout the tavern, just go crouch behind the bar, and then who's really good at doing voices to try and sound like the villain? They're like, the rogue was their best option, so the rogue now hides under the table, and then the wizard casts minor illusion, just minor illusion, not major image or anything like that, just the cantrip, minor illusion, to literally produce only the torso of the Nimblewright's former owner sitting in the chair without any arms and legs. And the rogue is like rolling stealth under the table, and then they kind of shut down the Nimblewright, reactivate it, and they're like using the minor illusion, which can barely move. And they're like, all right, shouting from across the bar, ask it if it knows who you are. And the rogue using the voice, and then the wizard trying to like puppeteer it at the same time goes, do you know who I am? Who am I? And the Nimblewright, and I had them roll deception, and he rolls a poor insight check, kind of starts falling for it, and cue the 1 hour interrogation of this Nimblewright through these really bad lines of questions. They hadn't pre-thought what questions they were going to ask, so they're like trying to whisper shout it over to the wizard so that he can communicate it to the rogue, and it's kind of like a game of telephone. And then the rogue is like, do you know where my hideout is? And the Nimblewright starts to get suspicious. It's like, oh, don't worry, construct man, Nimblewright man. This was I hit my head very hard. I've forgotten things, so you're filling in the gaps. Do you know where my hideout is? Oh, good, yes. Do you know where this other key is? Okay, good, yes. And the whole time the Nimblewright's like nodding or shaking its head. And then it's like, could you lead us to my hideout? Lead me to my hideout. And then the Nimblewright looks down at its missing legs. It goes and shakes its head no. They're like, if I reattach your legs, could you lead us to my hideout? Just the most ridiculous interrogation ever of this fourth construct.
Brilliant. I don't know why, but I'm getting visions of Weekend at Bernie's. Remember that film?
Yeah, very, very much that. Oh, yeah. A lot of that. The fact that this all took place in a tavern too is just ridiculous.
Brilliant.
So shout out to that group for a very thoroughly engaging, if poorly planned and executed interrogation. Well done, folks.
Oh, fantastic.
I know they do listen, so I'll look forward to what they have to say about this recap of it next week and what I left out.
Yeah. Great stuff. James, any horror stories?
Just the one this week. So
here we go.
What we've got is DM turns a non-lethal attack into lethal against my intent, and needing to describe it with gruesome details when asked why it wasn't non-lethal. So, quick trigger warning for gruesome fantasy,
gory fantasy stuff.
Yeah, it's very over the top. So, yeah.
Well, now I'm excited.
Not in the visceral way. Just yeah. kind of dumb, really, but here we are. So, play as a monk, fluffed as a cowboy who specializes in elbowing and beating people up. My darts are fluffed as a revolver. Okay. So I only use the revolver to knock people prone or disorientate them, way of the open hand. So they are doing a heist, which is going on at a bank, and the party needs to save an NPC from being kidnapped there. Mention a few times to party members, I don't want to kill people in the heist, but I don't mind knocking them out. Punch one really hard, and mention that I'm trying to knock him out with a non-lethal damage, a real solid blow. But nothing too critical, he should wake up in a few hours with a headache. And then it's cut off, where the DM interrupts to say, your fist flies into his brain and shatters his frontal lobe into 15 pieces.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
Wow.
I remind the DM I'm making a non-lethal attack. I am looked at by the DM, who continues, there's brain matter in your fingernails now, which feels slimy and chunky at the same time, and warm to the touch. This repeats for every other enemy in the encounter I happen to touch too hard. Was I right to feel like I lost agency here? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. If you've had to remind the DM that it's non-lethal, and that's the moment where the DM goes, "Oh, right, of course, yeah. Forget everything I said about the brain." He just gets knocked out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what that reads to me as? A very vindictive DM who is not happy about something that they've done and is kind of trying to punish them for it. It's kind of being like, well, okay, fine, you are going to go rob this bank that I didn't want you to do and I didn't have prepped well. Now you slay the whole town that's in there. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like it's because they're a monk and they can do high amounts of non-lethal damage that the DM's like, well, I don't want that. If you're going to do non-lethal damage, I wanted it to be like a crap amount of damage
like,
that you have to do with an unarmed strike.
Bludgeoning,
Yeah, exactly. Like your standard D4, or if like you're a weaker character, like a wizard or whatever, you can't do magic non-lethally, so it's going to have to be either a hit with a staff, which I imagine he would take as lethal, judging by that, or like a -1 to the damage modifiers that I've seen before.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because I forgot that magic isn't non-lethal. In BG3, I turned on non-lethal damage for my party, and to save the whispering masks in the grove. And then I realized I'd killed them all because Gale was like sending scorching rays at all of them, and I was like, "Whoops! Oh no!" They were literally rolling wisdom saves to not have to fight me, and they were being mind controlled by the hag. And now I'm like, oh no, I've killed them all. These poor innocent people.
How do you kill that hag? Because then red caps keep coming up and just how do my ask to be?
Can I wait? I'm sorry. Can I have the floor for a minute? Because I'm really proud of my hag kill.
Yeah, go on.
And I really want to tell you guys about it. So this is a spoilers, obviously, for Baldur's Gate 3. If you're listening and you haven't gotten to the hag and you don't want to hear about this, tune out for about a minute.
I definitely do.
Okay. So first and foremost, you need to know I'm a dirty save scummer. If I don't like the way combat is going, even if I'm actually winning, but I just feel like I've expended too many resources, I will literally reload. That's why I'm 32 hours into the game and still in the Underdark, crawling around in Act 1. Also because I pick up everything I see. But in the hag layer, so I had walked in and I see the final room where Marina is in the cage and suspended over a pit, and I see the contraption to release her from it. But the first time I went through it, I didn't roll very well in a stealth or something like that, and one of my group members activated it, and the hag was like, "Ah, there you are. Well, you like her, then have her on fire." And she makes the cage go on fire, right? So Marina ended up dying from that, and I killed the hag, but I wasn't happy with the kill. So because it was a lot of, she held person 3 of my party at once. She cast hold person on 3 different party members. I was paralyzed except for, I think, Gale. And I was like, oh, we're screwed now. Gale can't do shit. So he was down to cantrips. So I did it again. And this time I was like, all right. And I executed the most beautiful plan because I knew exactly where she was hiding, where she was invisible. I knew I had to move around a certain path to activate the Marina cage and get her out, etc. I think the hag had 1 turn because she was surprised, and then in the second turn I just nuked her, and she had one turn where she ended up just begging for her life. She never got to make she never got to cast a spell. The only attack she made was a reaction attack when my imp dashed away from her, because I have an imp familiar as my warlock. But it was so gorgeous. She was on slightly lower ground, so Gale and Shadowheart and my warlock were all sniping her from the ledge with hexed eldritch blasts and sacred flames, and I think Gale had done 3 scorching rays. One of them had critical hit, and the imp was invisible next to her and was stabbing at her the whole time, going invisible, stinging, and Marina had long since been saved. And Karlak was tanking. She was hasted by Gale, so I had, I think, 5 attacks with her, because she also has a bonus action pommel strike with her greatsword. This poor thing went from like 125 health to 0 in a turn and a half, and it was glorious. I felt so. I wanted to save the clip just so I could rewatch it and just see that the beauty of that combat, but I couldn't do that. So it was. I was honestly really, really proud of that kill, but it took a turn around to save Scumming. So take it with you.
Okay, so mine was so different to that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because of how I approached it, I came up behind her hut. I found her in the hut, and she was feeding the girl at her table.
Marina.
It was feeding her at the table. Is that how you found her?
That's how you start. Right. Yeah. Oh, okay. So she has a lair under that house.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Do you know what you do? You walk past her fireplace, and you realize her fireplace is an illusion.
Right. I saw it becomes an illusion. I saw that, and also as well, I trade with her, and I buy her an invisibility potion off her.
Good,
so
smart. So she can't disappear. Ooh,
so
I
do that
what
at the beginning.
Then.
Yeah, but I end up money.
Well, what happened to me is that I just started fighting her upstairs in the house.
Oh, in the hut. Oh no, don't. Yeah, fight her in the lair.
I fought her in the hut, and then she disappeared.
Yeah, because she drinks her potion and she goes away, and she retreats to her lair. Yeah, that's where she. I don't know if she teleports there or turns invisible and walks away, but yeah, that's where she goes.
Okay,
so go chase her through the fireplace.
I'm pretty sure that poor girl's dead in my game. Then
probably. She might, actually, Marina might be in a cage. If you didn't see her die, she might have her captured. So
I don't know if I can go. But
you're in Act 2 now, aren't you?
I am just about to go do the final bit of the Shah Temple.
Don't tell me anything. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, don't tell me anything either. I'm still fucking around with this bloody witch.
But I just had a warning.
The amount of times I see her do that,
you cannot go back after this point.
Yep.
And some quests may be finished, and I was like,
yeah, that's a bummer. I realized I missed out on 2 little quests, but the harpies to save the Tiefling child, I missed out on that. I'd done it in early access, and I kind of forgot about it until after the Goblin Camp, and then I was like, damn it! And I ended up missing, because I was exploring the hag area of the bog, and I missed the investigate Kaga quest. You know, the druid that's kind of leading the things in Halsin's absence.
Yeah.
She's apparently she's corrupt. She's not just cruel. She actually works for a shadow druid organization, apparently. Spoiler.
Oh wow, okay.
And you don't find this out unless you're still you haven't talked to Halsin, and you go and find a journal of hers that's the shadow druids will take over the Emerald Enclave, and I'm like, oh crap, I missed out on all of that. I don't even have that quest anymore. So I'm going to do that.
I think that's one of the good things about the game, though. I've missed all this stuff, which means when I go back through for another playthrough,
second playthrough, another 150 hours of your life. Yeah, that's so. Rob, I wanted to ask, as a monk, since Rolldark Thane was a monk, how did you feel about that monk story?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. No. I mean, Rob's. Or not Rob, sorry. The tales,
the horror story.
The horror story. Yeah. That's.
Yeah. If someone started telling you Rolldark Thane was just full on bodying people that you didn't want to,
exploding brains.
Yeah, I'd be pretty friggin' livid with it, to be honest. It's not how you. Yeah, it's the more and more I hear these horror stories, the more and more I think that it's just DMs that just don't get it. It's really frustrating. But in a way, it's kind of great because I suppose
that makes us look better.
Makes us look better. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We get it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Totally. So yeah, really, really weird.
Yeah.
So,
I hear that.
yes, we've got in the Discord, in the Rolldark Discord, we have our own podcast chatter area, and we've got a question from one of our listeners, who's also one of our
Ooh.
most active players actually within the Rolldark community, and that's Jan. James, do you want to read out what he said? Have you got the Discord up?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, question for the podcast: how come mango chutney goes with everything, but humorous tavern keepers don't? More relevantly, though, gaming eating. What do you think should be the etiquette, practice, and taboos around doing it? And I have some strong opinions on this.
Ooh, all right. What are your
Gaming
opinions?
eating, okay. Are we talking eating as the
I think
players?
out of character. No, around a table.
Oh,
I
okay,
think
so people
or
just eating
online.
while they're playing.
or online.
Yeah,
or
while they're
online,
playing.
right?
Or
right.
online.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Yeah, okay, interesting.
Rather
Jim?
than like in character, like what's your fantasized D&D meal of choice or whatever,
Just
right?
sat down
we could-
having some
We
grub.
could talk about that for a long time.
Yeah.
Mango chutney.
Well, it goes with everything. So,
Well, exactly, yeah.
so I think if you're online, mute yourself, and I can understand people also not wanting to have people be able to watch them eat. So if you turn your camera
Sure,
off
of
as well,
course.
that's fine. If you're just listening for a bit and you let people know, I don't have a problem with that. I know people, especially because the times we run games is like 7 till 11 at night. A lot of people are going to get home, not have time to cook something, or just have time. And at
Right.
the start of the game,
Yeah.
they might have some food they need to eat, or they've ordered a takeaway because they don't have time to cook. And then halfway through the game, a pizza will appear, and they'll be like, "Just turning everything off. I'm still listening." And usually it's something along the lines of, "I'm a barbarian, so hit them, hit any enemies that you that."
As soon as your turn is done, you just go back on mute
Yeah.
and off camera and
Yeah,
continue.
I'll hop back on for my turn and then turn it off again. So that's fine. So I would say do that and don't just sit there with your camera off because you don't want people to see you eating, but with the sound on and you just chew into the mic.
Oh god, yeah, nothing worse.
Gross.
Yeah, it is gross. You do get like
Getty night.
Yeah, someone slurping noodles.
There was this guy. There was this when I used to live in a shared house in London. There was this guy that moved in, and he used to sit in the lounge while we were all watching like TV or whatever, and he would just like.
Oh God! With his mouth open and
with his
everything.
mouth open,
What?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Rob,
He'd
that
have,
is a
like-
very
like-
disturbing face. No.
Just
Oh,
eating porridge with the mouth open, just dribbling it slightly down his chin.
like that. But the weirdest,
it looks like
the
a fish out of
weirdest-
water.
The weirdest, and he was this like really scrawny looking ginger guy, and he had a real far back receding hairline, and he used to sit like this and do it.
Oh God,
So he
that's my
looked like this. He looked like this
RPG horror
horrendous,
story,
he
right?
looked like this horrendous looking like frog of a man, and yet his girlfriend was an absolute babe. And she would come over and sit next to him.
Maybe he's funny.
I'd just be like totally fine with
must
it.
be.
Like it didn't even register to her.
Wow.
And
I think-
I'd be sat there watching telly, just like looking at her, looking at him, and being like, "This is the most bizarre thing ever. Like, how could she not think that's like really, really hideous?"
Are they still together, or do you think?
Yeah,
they're
they're still together. Yeah,
So
I still
it's
see
not
they
even a
still
thing.
plaster all their shit all over Instagram.
There's some stuff we're not meant to know, Rob, but obviously they're making up for it in other departments.
Something's obviously going on there. Yeah, right.
It's got
God
something.
knows what.
Because either she's deaf or
And blind. And blind.
God.
Deaf
blind.
and blind. He was such an irritating guy. Like I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. I was like, what is it?
He's actually your
News.
number one subscribed listener to
Yeah.
Tales from the Tables, right?
Yeah,
now.
right. Well,
Gosh.
I actually do kind of know why she was with him, which is a bit mean on my part. So
Uh-oh.
he was a very up and coming theatre director, and she was an actress. So join the dots.
There you go.
They definitely won't be listening to this. So it's fine.
Uh-huh.
We get one complaint this week. We'll know who it will be from.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
what's there to complain about? It's like I'm not offended anyone. I'm not mentioning any names.
That's
I've
true.
just said there's this person that's like this. It's up to you to
Right.
decide if you think that's disgusting or not.
Yeah, that's
Although
true.
I did say personally that I found that disgusting. But
Yeah.
And most people would.
personally.
Yeah.
yeah, sure, of course you would.
In-person games and eating though, that's a little more difficult. I feel like either you like have got a set time where you're like, we're gonna take a break then for food. Up until then, if people want to like throw the occasional like crisp or whatever, sorry, JC chip.
I understand what crisp means. I've lived in the UK for a couple years. I'm fine.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
It does actually make sense, to be fair, crisp, because they are crispy. So it tracks. I get it. What I don't get is how you deal with floors. I'm sorry. You can't tell me that there is that the ground floor is not the first floor. That's of course it's a floor. It's not like there's no floor there. It's the first that you see. It's a first
ground
floor.
floor. Yeah.
It's my only gripe with the differences between US and UK, and everything else. I'm like, yeah, the UK makes more sense. Oh, you're measuring by multiples of 10 because you're using the metric system. That makes more sense than our outdated imperial system.
I don't mind the floor thing. I just wish it was consistent across everywhere, because otherwise, then it causes confusion. Either system is fine. I understand if the ground floor is floor 1, great. I don't care. That makes sense. That makes as much sense.
The 0th floor.
0th floor.
Floor 0.
Floor 0.
Or level 0. Level 0 might make sense.
Level 0 sounds cool.
Level, because then you got level 1.
But nobody calls it that. They all call it. Oh yeah, they're on the first level. No, they say the first floor. They're on the first floor. So
fair enough. Yeah.
But if
weird, aren't we?
But if I was playing a game and no one else was eating, and then someone whacks out like a plate of lasagna or something.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
I would say something, probably. I don't know. Just like,
it's like
did you want to take a break? Maybe.
Yeah.
Guys, I think we found James's pet peeve.
Right.
I think that's it.
Eating a whole meal during a TV became like a complicated Italian dinner.
I must admit, I used to get very frustrated with people on the tube if they started eating hot food next to me. That used to really bug me.
Yeah,
especially if it's hot and smelly, and you're like, oh god, and they're like slapping away at their food, and you're just like. I mean, I get it.
It's the tube. Like it just feels unsanitary, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's all the people
with
coughing.
Their hands.
Oh,
and they've touched like the bars, they've touched like the sides. It's like they probably never get a cold in their life because they're just like
they're inoculated.
Their immune
to
system
everything.
is amazing, but yeah, I think in Japan, in Tokyo, it's like you are not allowed to eat on public transport at all. Like they're very, very strict on it because they're such
they keep
a clean city.
Yeah, exactly. They keep everything so immaculate. Like it's incredible. But
they have other problems on public transport, but eating is not one
other
of them.
major problems. Right?
Yeah, right.
Well, you know that phones can't be sold in Japan with. Well, this was a while back. I don't know if this is still true, but for a while I know that your phones couldn't have the camera clicking noise be silenced. So like they had to develop a special camera app on your phone that you couldn't unclick that, so people would know when they were having pictures of themselves taken.
Oh wow!
On the tubes. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, but it's sad that they had to make that workaround, but it's good that they did bring in a workaround.
Yeah. I don't know if that still holds or not, but yeah, that's what I heard.
I imagine there's loads of ways to get around it, but anything that makes it more difficult for weirdos to take pictures of people.
Yep. Yeah. I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that, and making sure people don't eat like full meals either on the train or at the table.
Yeah,
while you're in person.
I wouldn't run a full game of D&D while you're eating dinner. So don't have a full meal.
Yeah.
Although while everyone is trying to play, like have an arranged time if you want a full meal. Snacks, totally fine. That's cool.
Yeah. My only caveat is if you're gonna eat, you have to eat just like that guy that Rob described.
Every crisp. Actually, there is another part to my pet peeve, and it's food that is messy on your hands, and then you touch my minis.
Oh yeah, no! Don't do KFC.
Has that happened?
and then puts a mini
yeah,
or a
with,
map or
with
something.
friends. It's never happened with a Rolldark game.
Thank
I was
gosh.
gonna freaking say like that is rude.
Let's intervene.
But just we've
Like,
had like
lick their fingers and go, oh, 1 second.
Hold
yeah,
on.
or just like a
Mm.
Domino's
Give me some
pizza because they've got that like crumb on the crust.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
hold
yeah,
that,
yeah.
eat a pizza, move my stuff around.
Rough.
Yeah.
Not your Dwarven Forge. You paid too
No.
much money for that.
Yeah, right.
No.
How much money have you spent on Dwarven Forge, James?
Well,
Enough said.
look, Jade listens to this, so you've really fucked me there. No,
Come on, tell us the truth.
I haven't bought Dwarven Forge. I've borrowed Dwarven Forge from a
There
player
you
of
go.
mine, so I haven't spent any money on Dwarven Forge.
Oh,
But
okay, fine.
the amount of Dwarven Forge that I have borrowed is about $6,000 worth. So,
Holy shit.
So that's like what, 3 tiles? 4 tiles?
yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No, honestly,
Gosh.
my office is filled with cardboard boxes at the moment, stuffed full of Dwarven Forge
That's
like
amazing.
stuff.
Cool.
That's the right
Ready-
way to live.
Ready for
I think.
Rolldark Fest.
Good.
Awesome.
Good God. I'm using. I think I've had a great idea for what I want to do for my part of the game in Rolldark Fest. So now I think I'm going to use a digital table for that for the first 4 hours, and then Dwarven Forge for the last bit only.
Nice.
We'll trade off. I'll use your Dwarven Forge for the start of it, and then I'll hand it back to you for the end.
Yeah,
And
I
I'll
my
take a
TV,
TV.
and you can project the maps on it. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Listen, I have so much cool stuff that I would normally bring, but there's only so much you can pack in a
Oh, yeah, of
suitcase
course, of
and get
course.
through the border without
Yeah.
too many people questioning you.
Yeah, right.
I'm waiting for the day where we can have full foldable, portable 55-inch or TV screens. I'm waiting for that day because that will be man, I
Just-
could
you
run
just
all my Foundry maps.
Pour it out. It's like.
Yep.
Map.
There.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Just
so
you like
it's
roll it
wonderful.
out, and it's like one of those rolling screens, and you just plug
Oh,
it into
yeah.
your laptop.
I'm
and you're
sure
done.
they
How cool is that?
exist. They are just super expensive.
I'm
I
sure.
think like
Yeah,
as a
it's a
tech
matter of
demo, they
time.
have created them. Like it is possible,
Yeah.
but I think it's just one of those things that either it isn't commercially
Prohibitively
available,
expensive. Yeah.
or it's prohibitively expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they do hold back technology, don't they, because of the curve. So
True.
each company will have like a curve that it will have. Like for example, like at the iPhone, they'll have like I don't know, probably the next 5 iPhones good to go. But they're just waiting for that curve to sales to just suddenly start going. And they go, oh, here's the next one.
Yep.
And then they introduce that one bit of tech that is enough to basically boost
To
their
sell it.
sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
sell
boost their
it again.
sales. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Although I had heard that the latest iPhone announcement is apparently like a massive disappointment, and I'm like, what did you all expect at this point? Like, it's done everything it's capable of doing.
yeah,
Like,
right.
what you want it to make you fly? Because that's at this point that's all that's left.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, the camera's gotten slightly better, I guess. That's it. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. There's an ad for everything else.
There's
right. I'm so checked
I
out
imagine
of
the
my
screen's slightly
Yeah.
better. I am stuck with iPhones because I've got an iPhone, I've got an iPad. I've bought so much music and film through the iTunes store that like I need to keep it. All the amount of stuff I've got on there now.
I still have this little baby iPhone 10.
That's what I've got. I've got an
I
iPhone
know
10.
everyone makes fun of me because it's so thin and small, and I'm like, I like it. It's
mine
great to
is
access.
the 10.
Mine's
I think
a
I've got the
big
10R or
old
10 something. So,
fancy. What do you have,
yeah,
Rob?
it's still just got the one camera.
Google 5.
Yeah, Pixel.
5. Yeah.
I heard those are really good phones, actually.
Yes, they're great. Actually. Yeah, they are good.
Yeah.
I just got sick of iPhone and Apple just constantly doing those updates where they slows down your tech,
Mhm.
and then it's like,
Yeah,
oh, my
yeah.
thing slowed down, so now I've got to get a new thing, and it's
That's
really
what's happening with this.
I've got an iPad somewhere that I can't use with like there's like a Square app that I want to use on it, and I can't use it because you have to update the iPad, but I can't update the
that's
iPad
shit.
unless I connect to an Apple Mac, and I had a MacBook Pro, but I've got rid of that, and now it's like so I can't upgrade it.
So you
it's
can't
like,
use your iPad at all.
yeah, I can't even use it. So I'm just like,
That's
this is
silly.
just ridiculous. They
Yeah.
there's too much of that going on in Apple that I just like. I'm like, do you know what? I'm done with you guys.
Sure. I got it. I'll never begrudge anybody for their phone choices and not
No.
doing the Apple is our overlord and savior thing, because yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Plus, there's a lot of security concerns to be thought about. How
exactly.
Apple basically knows your entire life, where Well, I mean, so does
Yeah.
Google at this point. But hey, who's keeping track?
That's what I
Yeah.
figured. Like one of the big companies is going to have all my information. It may as well be Apple at this point. Screw it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because they put out that ISO 14 update where they didn't want you to have where basically you were being sold ads on Instagram and Facebook that were highly susceptible to people who would actually react to those adverts. So it's basically things that you're into, things that you're interested in,
Yeah,
and
they took that out.
Apple in their ISO 14 update said that no, automatically that stops those ads from getting to you. And Facebook kicked off massively. We had a real big problem.
Yeah, I
at
remember
Rolldark.
that.
Do you remember? Like
Yeah.
we couldn't because originally because we were advertising to people who play D&D, who like D&D, who are prepared to pay for D&D, who actually
Right.
understand that having a dungeon master that's professional is going to be a good thing. So we could target those people. But as soon as the ISO 14 update came in, it was like, no, you can't.
Gone. Yeah.
It's gone. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like,
Oh.
surely people want to have adverts that are because we're all going to get adverts on our
If
screens
you're
no matter what.
subjecting me to mass advertising, at least make it something I care about.
Yeah,
right, I suppose,
exactly.
The amount of adverts I do get for stuff that is totally irrelevant is irritating. Like
Yeah.
especially on
Absolutely.
like Reddit,
Sports ball. What?
Facebook, especially. Actually, I've noticed is recently is getting worse and worse with just weird adverts. Where I'm like, okay, well, I've not said anything that will relate to this out loud, so there's not a microphone thing, and I've definitely not Googled anything that's like this. So
It's because you're on
to the
Apple.
point where I've like
Because
shown Jade and been like, the hell is this?
Right. Honestly, no, I'm kind of having the opposite experience. They're targeting me not with things I'm interested in, but things that like keep happening in my life or that should be happening in my life. Like I'm getting a lot of advertisements for houses at this age, and yep, and I'm getting advertisements for like baby supplies and
for God's sake,
wedding venues and things like that. I've been seeing that a lot, and I'm like, just because my feed is full of my friends getting married and having something to do with their lives doesn't mean I need to see this on a constant basis from you, Facebook.
Well, I wonder if my answer will change now that I've changed age brackets, because I was
that's right, you were
25
under
to 29
30.
and now I'm in the 30 bracket.
Soon you're going to start getting all the baby ads too.
I think 30
perfect. I'll get it my parents and Facebook.
Yeah, and cryptocurrency. That's another one.
I get so much cryptocurrency. Yeah,
it'll be all about that because you're a man and you're in your 30s. They'll just be like, "Yep, that's our target market."
Yo,
boom,
bro,
there you go.
crypto.
Buy
it, man.
Crypto's where it's at, bro.
Yeah,
bro. Come on, bro. Yeah,
I've got so many annoying friends that are like, bro, you just get back in, just buy some crypto, just get this, just get that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm really not interested. Like I did it for a bit, and then I was like, nah, it's too volatile. It's too much of a headache. You got to really invest in it to get any kind of return from it.
Right. And then once you do, you get like the little bit of return, and it's starting to go up. You're like, yes, and then it instantly bombs again. And you're like, no. And so it's kind of like, riding. It's like gambling in a way.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
It totally is. Yeah, it totally is. It's just not worth it.
You have to be in it to win it. Yep,
I'm good. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, thanks
on
a lot,
that note.
Guys. Yeah, thanks a lot. I think we should call it there. Yeah. Good podcast. Let's
nice and long one.
Let's do it again next week. We need to get some guests in. I think we need to start aiming for some guests.
I'm working on it. I've got a couple of people. Kate, if you're listening, you're next. I got you.
Ooh, nice. Okay, cool. James, any potential ideas for some guests?
Yeah, I've got some, but I need to get in. I will start social media blitzing. The problem I think we're going to have is that X, the app formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, right. I thought you were talking about your ex for a second. I was like, you're going to bring your ex on? That's brave. Okay. Doesn't Jade listen to this?
What are you doing to me this week?
Yeah, right. So how much do you pay for Dwarven Forge? And why are we talking about your ex?
Right.
The app X. They have recently said that people may have to start paying monthly for it. So I know people.
Oh God! As if he needed another nail in his coffin at this point.
Right?
What an idiot!
So I don't know how often people are using X or Twitter anymore.
It's literally been free for over a decade. Why suddenly start charging people for it? Oh my gosh! That's so silly. Sorry,
I'm
Musk.
convinced he just wants it to fail.
Yeah, he's trying
Not
to
because
blow
I
it into
think
the ground.
not because I think he's some genius. I think he just doesn't like that people were mean about him on Twitter and is set herself on destroying it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Who knows? All right.
Hey ho. Well, goodbye everyone, and yeah,
Yes, indeed.
we'll check with you guys next week.
See you then.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye bye.